Hi, Eric Gibaud, ericgibaud.com, and today I'm going to tell you why I think that the lack of self-confidence cost us a lot of money. Let's start. Well, what I'm going to tell, maybe it sounds a bit radical, but I'm going to give some example of this. But I think this lack of self-confidence is the reason number one that pushes us to buy new gear, more recent gear, new things, just because we feel like this way will be more secure and we won't fail our pictures, and that pushes us to buy the latest gear, the latest anything, the supposed to be best anything, well, any superlative word in front you can put it, and that's it. And this is what really pushes us to buy. But then in 99% of cases you realize that this investment, this money you spend, it's not always an investment, but very often it's money you pay, is not reflected in the results. Why? Because basically the picture is made by the person and not by the gear. So we spend thousands, hundreds, or 10,000s or whatever, a lot of money, and something that gives us a false sensation of security, and that doesn't help us as much as we thought. To make a comparison, we're going to speak about a Formula 1 pilot. If a pilot says, if I don't get these tires, I cannot win the race, that can be true only if he has the best engine and he is the best pilot. Because if he hasn't got the best engine, obviously it must be engine and chassis, all that, but we can speak about the engine, the frame, or the body, whatever. We can speak about the engine, the tires, and the pilot. If he's not the best pilot and doesn't have the best engine, having different tires will help him maybe to get a better place on the results, but it will not win the race because he needs also to have all this. In photography, it's even worse, because actually the pilot, which is the photographer yourself, is even more important. The tires could be the lenses and the engine, the camera bodies. But if you spend money on the best body and on the best lenses, and you don't have the knowledge, you will not get the result you expect. The results won't be in proportion of the money you spend. Why? Because the first thing you must spend is time on learning, time on bettering your knowledge. Without that, you're spending money thinking it's going to solve the problem, but it's not going to solve the problem. It is just going to help you a bit, but it won't give you the solution. Well, the first thing you must do is to make a big difference between help and solution. People who mix both, they get in trouble. One thing is a tool or a gear that helps you make better picture or helps you make picture in an easier way, and one other thing which is very different is gear that makes you the picture okay, because that does not exist. No gear is going to solve the picture and get the right picture, because the picture you make it yourself. This is not the camera that is making the picture, it's you. The gear is just help, and you must have this really clear. So I see many people who spend a lot of money on new gear. I speak mainly about camera bodies and lenses, thinking that this way they will get better pictures, and they will not. The only way to get better pictures is you better your knowledge, because you can make great picture or the best picture with absolutely any gear. Obviously you cannot make any picture with any gear, but you can make best picture in one style, one thing, with any gear. So that must be really clear. They're just tools. So I'm going to give you some features, technology features that have been appearing during years and we use every day, and very often we think they are the solution that will solve the problem, and sometimes they don't solve the problem, they actually make more problems, and they may even ruin your pictures. So I think the oldest one is maybe not the oldest, but one that many people think about is the autofocus. So people say, what is he going to say about the autofocus? Is it not good? No, autofocus is brilliant. It means someone is passing by and the autofocus follows that person, make the picture, get him, or a car or whatever, and this is brilliant. Before having the autofocus, it was really hard to make a manual focusing on something that was moving, and it is really a problem to track a moving subject and get it right. But many people, they just trust the autofocus too much, and they don't see that sometimes the autofocus, one, it may fail, and second, it needs to be properly configured. So people just get the camera out of the box and they feel that, oh, that's it, autofocus is on and that's it. And then you want to make a picture of me, for example, and I'm just on the side like this, and you point the autofocus on my face, and you think, oh, I'm not going to put Eric in the center, I want it in the third, so you reframe, and then when you get home, you see I'm out of focus and the sofa is in focus. What's wrong? Because you didn't configure properly the autofocus. Maybe you had continuous autofocus, and when you reframed, the autofocus jumped from my face to the back, and then I'm out of focus and the sofa is okay. Why? Because you have not read the manual of your camera, and you don't know how to you don't know how to configure the camera, and you've missed focus. And sometimes, even if the autofocus is properly configured, it won't be okay, because there's not even enough light and you think it's in focus and it's not, or something moves and it grabs something else, or there are many reasons. Or in macro is really hard to focus properly. It's a lot easier to focus in manual. So you must know all these limits. If you don't know the limit of your autofocus, you won't know when it may fail, and then you should do manual focus. So you think it's going to help you always. It's not going to always help you. So if you spend a lot of money on a good autofocus system, thinking it's going to solve every time the result, you just bend your money. It's better you learn to know properly the camera you have right now, to know its limit, and then know when you have to do manual focusing. Obviously, it's more logical to do autofocus as many times, as often as you can, obviously. But maybe you don't need to spend that extra money for this big autofocus great camera, because maybe you don't even need it. If you're doing action photography, yeah, welcome probably. But if you're doing portrait or this, come on, you don't need to spend that money. Just learn how to focus yourself and be more confident on your focusing. Another technology is the ISO. The high ISO, many people think, whoa, I'm going to spend money on a camera so I can put really high ISO, and this way I don't even need a flash unit and don't need to light anything. With the ISO I grab any light. Yeah, but the problem is when there is no good light, it's probably an ugly light too. So if you make it brighter artificially, raising the ISO, it won't make a nicer picture, it will just see better what's horrible, but it won't make a nicer picture. So it's more logical to learn how to light and get the light where you need. Sometimes it's not always possible. When possible, it's better to get the light proper, to have volume, all this, okay, properly, to get the volume and everything. And people don't realize what ISO is. And when you get to the scene, it's badly lit. It's like if I was, instead of speaking about pictures, I'm going to speak about sound. Imagine I speak like this. Blah, 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 blah. I don't understand anything. So what you do is, I'm going to put up the volume, the ISO. So you're going to hear blah, 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 blah. Do you understand better? No, you don't understand better. Actually, many people, when they see foreigners that don't speak their language, when they get to them, the first thing they do is to speak louder. And you say, why are you speaking louder? He doesn't understand. He's not deaf. Oh yeah, but this way he understands better. No, he's going to hear you more, but he's not going to understand you better. And this is what ISO is about. If this is a bad lit situation, if you can, you put your own lighting, you put flashes or whatever you have. High ISO is a spare wheel. You use it if you cannot put light on the scene, Otherwise, put your own light. It's a lot better. So spending money on a camera that can do high ISO will not make you better picture. It will help you probably make some picture possible, but not nicer picture, because if the scene is not properly lit, it will be ugly as well. So think about this. Another technology that is very much used nowadays is the flash TTL, and as opposed to manual flash. So TTL is probably great. You think, well, I don't know how to measure light, I don't know how to use a manual flash, but I put my TTL flash on my camera, I shoot, and the light is right. Yes, it's right, not always. That's the problem. The problem is the not always. So you're making me a TTL flash, a picture with a TTL flash, and you point at my face. It makes a pre-flash and then a flash, although you see just one flash, but it makes actually two flashes, and the picture is okay. So that's nice. I can start making portrait to Eric. Okay, but then the following picture, instead of pointing at my face, you actually point at my shirt, and the camera thinks, whoa, it's really dark here, I'm going to put some more light. So now you see the shirt perfectly, but then the face is all burnt, overexposed. And then the following one, you point at my beard, and then picture is okay or not, and not always. So it means between each picture, you become mad. It goes once too much light, another time not even enough light, and all this. Because TTL, you need to measure always in the same place. Some people will say, yeah, but you can compensate if there is too much light or not even enough light. Yes, you can, but you can only if you point always to my face, for example. If sometimes you point to this or to my shirt, all this, you become mad. TTL is not made for stable situation. For stable situation, it's more logical to use manual flash. If you put your flash in manual, once you have the light properly set for my face, for example, then you don't touch the light anymore. You can concentrate on framing, on catching expression, or doing vertical, horizontal, whatever, and framing what you compose the way you want. You don't have to think about light anymore. But just because you are not confident, self-confident, and you feel that you will not be able to use a manual flash, you buy a more expensive TTL flash, you spend twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times more money, and then when you see the result, you are disappointed. Why? Because in many situations, it makes a mistake, and then your picture is not lit as you wanted. So what are TTL flashes good at? Well, when it's an unstable light. Let's say you're outside and there are some clouds passing by and you're doing a reportage and you don't have time to be manually changing your flash all the time. So in this situation, you will try to point more or less at the tone that is okay, mid-tone, so it calculates the light properly, and sometimes it will make some mistake, but a camera that makes a mistake never makes a mistake as big as a photographer that makes a mistake, so that's okay. But it won't be perfect, but it will help you in that situation. If you can work in manual, it's better probably, you know, but if it's not possible, it may help you. But likely, depends on the kind of picture you're doing, but I see many people that just do some shooting of models, and they just spent money on a TTL flash. They don't need it. They could have spent money on a simple manual flash, save a lot of money, and learn how to light would have been a lot better, how to measure flashlight, all this would have been a lot better and more stable and better result than using a TTL system. Another tool that we use every day, or many of us use, is the LCD screen. So many people tell, oh, I want a better camera because the LCD screen is not really too good, I'm not sure if it's properly exposed or not properly exposed, all this or that. They spend more money on that, and then when they get home, they look at the picture on the screen of their computer, and it's still underexposed, overexposed, and not as precise as they thought, and they think, wow, this screen is no good. No, the screen is no good. Screens are good for checking composition, framing, and that's about it, and checking the histogram. But what you see, if you're making JPEG picture, what you see is the actual JPEG the camera will give you. But if you're working in a raw file, what it gives you is an overlay or header JPEG to indicate more or less. But if you think lighting is right in this corner on this JPEG, maybe it's not. And when you get to the computer, it says not. So it's a lot better to learn how to measure light, how to expose properly. And you know that even if the screen seems to say it's not right, you know it is right. This is a big difference. You know it is right. And if you are using, trusting your screen for exposure, you're going wrong. If you just spend money for a better camera to get a better screen for the exposure, checking the exposure, you are wrong. You just thrown your money in the bin. I don't want to get into the war between full frame, APS-C and Micro Four Thirds again. I've done it already. I don't say full frame is bad, but what makes me go mad is when I hear some people saying, yeah, but without full frame you cannot make good pictures. You can make good picture with any camera, absolutely any camera. And sometimes I see some people telling me, oh, your picture is great, it's incredible, it looks like full frame. By the way, why don't you use full frame? Oh, so because I told you it was Micro Four Thirds, you know I'm not using full frame, but if I didn't tell you, you would think it's full frame. So why should I spend money on full frame? If seeing my Micro Four Thirds picture you think is full frame, why should I spend that money on that? So I don't say full frame is bad, I don't say you don't need it or whatever. But this is not even the engine or the Formula One. It's more like the lens or the spare tire. Your full frame, you will get benefit of your full frame in some situation, not always, but if you don't know how to frame, if you don't know how to compose, if the subject is not interesting, if you don't know how to light the scene, if you don't know how to measure light, if you don't know anything of this, getting full frame will not help you in any way to get a better picture. Because you need to solve all the rest before, and this is you. And once you've solved all this, probably you'll think, I don't need to spend money on my full frame, what I've got now is enough. So that makes me mad that some people tell that without full frame you will never make good picture. This is stupid. You can make good pictures, brilliant picture with a box, a shoe box with a hole in it and a piece of film in there. You can make good picture with any camera. I don't say you can make any picture, you can make good picture with any camera. So if you're going to change your camera without changing what you're doing, and what you're doing you can already do it with your camera, to go full frame, it won't make better picture. You get, yeah, they say, yeah, you get better dynamic range, all this, for that, all this. Well, if the picture is not interesting, no one will look at the dynamic range. If the picture is interesting, people will look at the picture and will not give a damn about dynamic range. They will look that the picture is good. And that's it. Point. Many people, they say that they want more luminous lenses. And I think it's time to change the word luminous for we speak about lenses. I speak about lenses that open at 1.4, 1.0, 2.0, 2.8 instead of f4 or more, okay? And many people, they buy this and they don't buy that to get more light. That was called luminous before because when you were using a film camera, you had to do all the film, the whole roll, before changing the ISO, getting the ASA at that time, before changing for another roll of film that could have maybe a higher ISO. And the only way to get more light in there, if you want or couldn't drop speed, was to get a lens that would give you more light. You could catch more light. But nowadays, people normally don't buy these lenses for that, to get more light. They want to buy this to get a shallower depth of field. And many of these people, you realize that they need to get a shallow depth of field, basically because they don't know how to frame, they don't know how to compose. So the only way for them to get the thing in the right place in the picture is to get the subject in focus and all the rest as blurry as possible, and actually cover their lack of knowledge about composition using depth of field. This is completely stupid to travel 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers to go to a location, make a picture of a model and get all the background out of focus. Why do you go there? stay at your studio. If all the location is going to be out of focus, why do you go there? You probably need some deeper depth of field. So you see, you made this picture in New York City or in Paris or wherever. That is logical. But getting to the Eiffel Tower in Paris to get it out of focus, this is daft. There's no sense. So it's a lot better, before you spend money on these lenses, to spend time on learning how to compose. Because then you will realize that in many of your pictures, you probably want to see the background. Because that you won't be as, you won't have that lack of self-confidence about composition. You will know, oh, okay, this tree, I place it this way, and this tower this way, and this that way, and my subject is here. So I place that person in the situation, in the context, and that will work a lot better. Of course, you can buy a luminous lens, because when you know all this, sometimes you will say, yes, but in this picture, I do need a completely blurry background. But then you will use it as a tool, and not always. You will know when you need it. And this is a big problem, that many people spend thousands or hundreds and thousands or more on lenses just because they don't know how to compose, and they just blur the whole background so the person looks okay. And that's not the way it works. It must be, you must not do that just because you don't know how to compose. You do that because it's a decision that you want it to look this way. So this is what people don't understand. They spend a lot of money on things that they don't actually give them the right result, or the result they expect. And I speak about body and lens, when actually they should spend money on other things. Tuition, to learn how to make photography, obviously, but very often it will be better to buy good lighting gear to light situation, light meter, maybe a tripod, or many gear that is not the lens and the camera itself. I see many people, they get a camera, and then a month after they say, okay, I've got my cameras, I know it already, I know it perfectly, what other lens should I buy? I know a guy who made a thesis about André Cartes, the photographer, and this André Cartes actually explained that when he was working with the lens, it took him about 3 years to know the lens, how it rendered, what was the best situation, depending on the aperture, the distance of the subject, all this. About 3 years, he would say, I know how this lens reacts. And I see some people that have the camera for 1 month, and they said they already know the camera. First, it's lying. Very often they're lying. They think they know the camera, and they have not read the manual yet. They don't know how to configure the camera properly, and they think that if the picture are not good, it's because the camera is not good enough. So they spend money on camera and lens, again, thinking that will solve the situation. It won't solve anything. It won't solve anything. Their lack of self-confidence is making them spend money. They think that, oh yeah, but I'm afraid that I miss a picture. You're afraid of what? Be afraid of yourself, not of the camera. Be afraid of yourself. You need to better your knowledge to get the right result, more than changing gear. And if you're going to spend money on gear, get gear that complement the gear you already have, not to replace what you have, okay? Except if you want to make a new style of picture that your camera doesn't allow you to do. For example, you need really high burst rate for action picture and your camera cannot do it. I understand you want to change gear. Or you need to make underwater photography and your camera doesn't go underwater and you need something different to have a proper cage or whatever. I understand that. But for most people, what they do now, the gear they have is enough. What is not enough is their knowledge. So better your knowledge, better your self-confidence, and you will make better pictures. I hope you like this video. If you feel it may help other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, the small button down here, and also a small bell. If you click on the bell, you'll get notified when I upload a new video. My website, ericgibaud.com. If you have any question, you can leave a comment below, send me an email to info@ericgibaud.com. Below I put some links of my gear on Amazon and also links of other part of my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon. Bye.